What's up, good people? Thank you for clicking play on another episode of Big Man, Tiny Kingdom. What's up, good people? Lately, I've been thinking about a change of scenery. Seriously considering moving to another state. I'm interested in Texas, Georgia, Florida, possibly going back to my birth state, Maryland. And that sounds crazy for me to say, being that I'm not a fan of the cold weather, but it's a thought. It'd be nice to be around more family and also just experience what grown folk life on the East Coast would be like. This is early stages thinking for me. I ain't got no money to move. I don't have a career-based network in any of those states. But I didn't have any of that when I moved here to Arizona. And here I am 15 years later. Life is pretty cool. So until the notion to move comes up again, in the meantime, I'm just going to keep exploring this beautiful state of Arizona. I got to enjoy another piece of AZ outdoor wonderfulness when I drove up north to Prescott to check out Watson Lake Park. It was just a day trip for some hiking and a picnic type of visit. I have not been to Prescott much to be able to compare this spot to anything else, but Watson Lake is a gem. I really enjoyed myself at this location. Easy 2-hour drive to get there from where I live in Mesa, Arizona. Entry fee is only $3. Not a huge park, just 70 acres, but man, does it pack in some big time fun for just about every recreational activity you could imagine. There's tons to get into at Watson Lake. I went there specifically for the hiking. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the list is huge for things you can get into. First, there's the big lake. Of course, that's probably the main attraction. They have 2 different sides for boat launches. It was a busy day on the water when I was there. Lots of people enjoying the lake, launching their water toys. A lot of fishing going on as well. I was talking to one of the guys that was fishing and found out that there is a large variety of fish in Watson Lake. Largemouth bass, crappie, catfish, trout, and other species. I didn't get too deep in it with them about how the fish end up in the lake, but just a little history about Watson Lake from the park's website. It is one of the 2 reservoirs at the Granite Dells. It was formed in the early 1900s. The city of Prescott bought the reservoir and the surrounding land in 1997 to preserve it for recreational use. Added campgrounds, picnic, and barbecue pit areas all throughout the park. Frisbee golf course, big playfield area for the local sports teams. There was something going on when I was there. Not exactly sure, but I want to say they were playing softball. There's a lot more that I could talk about, but like I mentioned earlier, I went there for some hiking. There are plenty of hiking trails there. I completed the Watson Lake Loop. Not too bad of a challenge to climb the rocks. And once you get to the top, it was a beautiful view of the entire lake. That was a cool sight to see and really made it worth the hike up. After that, when I got back down, I had myself a picnic. I was with a lady friend and we sat there for several hours, jamming the music, playing board games. And of course, your boy did his thing and came out victorious. I'm very competitive, sports, work performance, you name it. I'm going for the gold and the top spot every time. Around me, either you're a winner or you get talked really bad about. Yes, I rubs it in. I talks trash while playing and will remind you about it for hours after. I don't recall exactly what time I got to the park, but it was early in the morning. It was a good weather day, a little chilly in the beginning. Had to bundle up while on the hike, but it warmed up somewhere in the 70s, enough to enjoy the rest of the day in a light t-shirt. Towards the end of the day, it did start to get windy and even rained a little bit. So that was my sign to wrap it up. Didn't want to wait to pack things up and get caught in a downpour. That seems like the only way we get rain here in Arizona. Clear skies 1 minute and then boom, the next thing you know, it's coming down in buckets, sometimes even to the point to when you have to worry about flash flooding. But it was a fun-filled day. I'm glad I got to check out Watson Lake. I do plan to go back to Prescott for some camping. The campgrounds there at the park wasn't much to them. They have 19 campsites, decent amount of shade, but not much separation between them from your camping neighbors. Dry camping only, no water or power. They did have bathroom and shower facilities. From driving through and checking things out, They were just okay. Nothing fancy to talk about. However, cheap at $20 per day. I figured it'd be a good spot to stop while you're passing through, but unfortunately, you have to reserve them 7 days in advance. So not a place for a quick, spontaneous stop. Still, when you consider all the recreational features, if you're planning to be in Prescott, this would be a pretty cool place to stay a couple days. Despite the campground amenities, I'm sure my heart will be full from all the activities I could get into on the lake. Spend a day kayaking or fishing. Another day, use up about 4 to 5 hours hiking through the various trail loops. Then spend that afternoon and evening, or maybe even a third day, relaxing and enjoying a picnic type of day. Kick back, lounging in my chair, get the grill going, the music bumping, play some games, drink some beer. That's definitely the kind of vibe I think of, and that's what I'm going to get myself into next time I visit the Prescott area. Maybe I'll combine it with some other parks in the area. I am planning to go back to Dead Horse Ranch, which is in Cottonwood, just a couple hours drive away. But maybe I'll stay at Watson Lake for a day, head to Dead Horse Ranch the next day, and then a day or two later, keep heading further north to Sedona or even Flagstaff before I make my way back home. I'm going to have to map that out and see what that looks like. I may be on to something. I hope y'all making plans for this summer to get outdoors. I hope you get nicely darkened from being outside all day while the sun shines this wonderful light down upon us. And of course, I hope you're doing it safely. Make sure you got your sunscreen on. Happy June to all y'all good people. And happy Juneteenth, a day that Black folks like to acknowledge as Freedom Day, commemorating the end of U.S. slavery in some parts of the country. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed 2 years earlier, it wasn't until June 19th, 1865, that enslaved African Americans in Texas learned that they were finally free human beings, causing them to celebrate, be festive, and recognize June 19th as Freedom Day, or Juneteenth, as most people know it to be called these days. Even though Black people recognized Juneteenth as a day for freedom celebration, it wasn't accepted nationwide until more recently. On June 15, 2021, the Senate unanimously passed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, which therefore established Juneteenth as a federal holiday. And aside from the sentimental, historical significance for what that day means to me as a Black person, I am also grateful that it is a paid day off of work. I get to spend that day to honor true freedom, and I get to celebrate with others in my city. I hope you all get to check out the events being held in your area. Whatever you're getting into this summer, please make sure that you are doing it like I always request that y'all do. Do it real big. This is Big Man, Tiny Kingdom.